And hit the what now? The clap?
No, the chat.
How much? I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I have to tell everybody I'm going to be recording this. Okay. And you can record it yourself too, Mike, if you would like. There's a little thing at the bottom saying you record, and you can record that.
Well, cool.
Oh, goodbye, everyone. Have happy video call. Goodbye, iPhone success. You're leaving.
Leaving? Come on, no. Getting started.
You're just getting started.
Absolutely.
Oh, well. Okay. Goodbye. Oh, wow. Well, we have Camilla. I don't know how many other people are going to be. Bye-bye. I don't know how many other people are going to be arriving. I advertised this quite a bit, all over the place.
Awesome.
So,
thank you.
But I have no idea. Oh, he lives in Spain, or she lives in Spain.
Oh.
Wow.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches. That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah. Buenos noches.
Yeah, and gone.
Yeah, not quite yet, but wow. In Spain, that's fantastic.
Spain.
How did you hear about this?
Spain is a great place. We loved our time in Spain. The people there took such good care of us. We loved it. The food, the adult beverages. Oh my word.
Oh yeah.
Great country, great people.
Oh, that's great. Oh, wow. Anyway, maybe we should wait another minute or two and see if anybody else comes in. I'm very surprised. I am extremely surprised.
Why is that?
Because I thought we'd have a lot of people.
But the
Adios.
ones are very high quality.
I really did.
Adios. Thank you for stopping by.
Hi.
Well,
oh, I lost you now.
You lost me?
Oh no, there's Camilla. Okay, Camilla left. Okay, I'm sorry. It's so sad.
No, Camilla's here.
Camilla is here. She just went to.
I don't speak English. I speak little English.
She speaks a little English. Where are you from, Camilla?
Colombia.
Colombia. Are you calling from Colombia?
What? Sorry.
Are you calling from Colombia?
Yes. I went to United States, to New York this year in February. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Well, bienvenidos and mucho gusto. So glad you're here.
El gusto es mío.
Well, I guess we may as well start.
Sure.
I'd like you to introduce you as Mike Maden or Maden, or how do you pronounce your name?
Like the coach or the shoes, but with one D.
Okay, Mike Maden, and you are a mostly a thriller writer. Have you written anything else aside from thrillers, or?
Not in the fiction realm, no. I had a 4-book series called Drone, which is also a high-tech military thriller, and then this is my 4th book in the Tom Clancy series.
Okay, and how did you actually get involved with writing the Tom Clancy series?
Well, I'm living proof it's better to be lucky than good, and so here I am, living testimony. I suppose it's also true that the harder I work, the luckier I get, so there's part of that. So I had a 4-book series, again, starting with Drone, which was a military techno thriller, and the paperback editor for the Drone series is a gentleman by the name of Tom Colgan. And Tom oversees the Clancy franchise, all the books that are produced. And so when an opening came up for the Jack Jr. series, he gave me a call. And it was, of course, the greatest literary day in my life because I'm a lifelong Clancy fan, Tom Clancy fan. I was writing techno thrillers because of Tom Clancy. And so to be
Wow.
invited to campus, I mean, what an extraordinary honor. So he asked me to come on board. I'm thrilled beyond thrilled. I hang up the phone and immediately have a heart attack because I now have to write a Tom Clancy novel. So the greatest moment became the most terrifying moment. But they were kind enough to ask, and I was willing to jump in and give it my best shot. Apparently the book did okay. It hit the New York Times bestseller list, and the second one and the third one all did well. So this is the fourth one, and so far the reviews are this might be my best book yet. It certainly has been a ton of fun. I loved writing this book. My wife and I loved traveling to Spain to do the research. We're desperately committed to research and authenticity, so committed that if there's a tapa that's been tested or an adult beverage that's been quaffed, trust me, it's been thoroughly researched multiple occasions. And I guarantee to my readers that the food and the beverages are authentic.
That's fantastic. So could you tell us what your book is about exactly?
My mandate is to follow the Jack Ryan Jr. character in particular, and my focus is always on him. And he's always a little more isolated and away from sort of the larger geopolitical issues, or at least so it seems. He's certainly operating on his own, always in my books, or with the help of maybe one person. In this case, Gavin Barry, the original tech nerd, geeky guy, but he's coming from the 1980s. So I mean,
wow,
Gavin's the original deal, the 1990s. Yeah, he's the original source for all other tech geeks you see on TV and whatnot. I love Gavin. So Jack Ryan Jr. is on vacation in Spain. He's something of a history buff like his dad. He always wanted to go there and just enjoy it. And after about 2 weeks, he's just relaxing. It's his last day in Spain. He's at a bar. He's having tapas. He's drinking some vermouth. He's having a great time. But it's time to go. And suddenly he turns around and he bumps into an old friend, a young woman that he had dated in college years ago. And they instantly kind of have a little spark. But she's obviously there to meet somebody. He's got to go. But they swap cards and they say, hey, we'll get together later. So he's pretty excited. He heads out the door. And as soon as he steps out in the alleyway, boom, massive explosion. Jack rushes back in, and his friend is literally dying in his arms, and she whispers one word to him, and that's the word Samler. And so that sets Jack off on a mission to hunt down the terrorist killers that murdered his friend. At the same time, his dad, who's the president of the United States, is battling this unseen, invisible, high-tech terrorist, or I should say enemy, that is sinking ships in the remote South Pacific. And almost as if on purpose, the two stories actually come together at the end.
Wow, that sounds great.
I loved it. I had a lot of fun with
wow.
this book.
That sounds incredible. Woo. So what do you plan to do after this book?
Well, that's a great question. I'm actually have a whole new project, a series I'm launching. First time doing a collaborative project with somebody.
Oh.
At this moment, it's top secret. But I promise you the character that's the main protagonist is just awesome. And from my perspective, very unique. And I'm populating that world with other characters I just absolutely love. But right now we're keeping it under wraps, and we'll announce pretty soon. But it's awesome.
It's a series.
Then, yeah, it will be a series. Yes, absolutely. And then Don Bentley, who wrote an amazing thriller novel called Without Sanction that came out this year. Just one of the most original voices in the thriller genre. Brand new writer, just unbelievable writer. Well, they've brought him now on to take over the Jack Ryan Jr. series. I'm so excited to see what he's going to do with Jack Ryan Jr.
Oh, so you're not going to be doing those anymore, or?
Correct. Yeah, this is the fourth one for me and my last one. Don will take the baton from here.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what actually, what made you decide to become a writer?
Oh, do you choose to be a writer, or does writing choose you? Yeah, that's a
good question.
Yeah, that's a question. I was about 40 years old when I woke up and realized that I was a writer. Ironically, I've been writing my whole life, but could never bring myself to say I am a writer, because when you really say that and commit to it, it brings on all kinds of fascinating issues in terms of commitment and discipline and focus. And you have to walk away from a lot of things that are otherwise fabulous and entertaining, excuse me, and enjoyable. And you commit to that path. And I have never been happier. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I love what I do. I'm blessed to have readers that like what I read. But at the end of the day, I've also never worked harder. I'm very committed to my craft. I'm committed, especially to the fans of the Clancy universe, because before I ever wrote a Clancy novel, I was a fan of the Clancy novels. So I love what I do, and it's a real joy to do it. And I learned from day one, I knew I couldn't do it, but I had to do it. And so every single book, I'm always humbled by this process. I'm hoping I'm growing as a writer, book by book. But every time I start a new one, like Hemingway said, I feel like I'm starting all over again. Please excuse me. And so I have to relearn the craft all over again. I have to re-embrace the disciplines all over again. And that's part of the process. And I'm glad to do it.
Do you write more than one book at a time?
You know, right now, no. For me, the writing process is something like taking a 5-gallon bucket, filling it with kerosene. I take it to the top of a 10-story building, duck my head in it, light myself on fire, and throw myself off. I hit the ground, dust myself off, and that's chapter 1. And so do that 69 more times. And so for me, it's a very intense process. I'm completely focused on that one thing. I'm a horrific multitasker, and I'm trying to bring in so many different elements: history, culture, politics, technology, and of course the craft itself. I just don't have the bandwidth or the brain power to do more than one at a time.
Yeah, I bet you have other ideas for books though at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world is endlessly fascinating to me, and every single day I seem to be gobsmacked by life. You know, I think we're getting to the point now where some people say, yeah, you write about drones and high tech, or you're writing science fiction. I'm like, no. Number one, I think science fiction is dead. There's almost nothing you can imagine that, trust me, scientists aren't already developing.
Funny you should say that.
Yeah, and we used to say that truth is stranger than fiction. Well, I mean, truth is just strange now. It's almost impossible to see what's going on in the world at any given time and not scratch your head and just wonder what in the world's going on.
It's really funny because I've been involved with science fiction and science fiction writers since I was a teenager. So when you said that, I thought it was a riot. But
well, I love science fiction. I think it's an amazing genre. I'm just not probably bright enough to do it. But you know, what we used to dream about and think of as possibilities is now absolutely reality. And I learned that hard lesson in my drone series. The very first book is called Drone, and I thought, let me be really clever. I'll think of some awesome drone systems. And so I pulled out my puzzler and I was puzzling my puzzler, and I thought, oh, here's a drone system that is so cool that no one's thought of. And thankfully, I had the good sense to maybe do a little Googling, and I found out, yeah, really awesome system that's been around for about 10 years. So you can't outthink it. You know, engineers are these brilliant people who do science and math, and so that's why they lose me right there. But the part we forget is engineers are also among those creative people, because they are thinking of applications for these theories. And so really the lesson I learned was, if you can think about a drone application, it is already in development or already deployed.
Right. So I just had a question and just went right out of my head. So yeah, you do a lot of research for your books?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, everything from, of course, I'm in constant reading mode, both online, good old-fashioned paper, like what's behind you. I love books, love the feel of books. I'm still that sort of tactile person. The smell and the feel of a good book, just to me, there's nothing like it. But there's so many resources online now, it's amazing. But, you know, it's awfully powerful to pick up a phone and call an expert, you know, and someone who's passionate about a particular field of study. They're passionate because they love it. And so when you pick them up and say, would you like to talk about your particular passion? Yes, they usually do. And so that's an awesome source. And of course, we live in an age where you don't have to fly to Barcelona to understand Barcelona. You can literally go on Google Maps and search the streets, and there's videos on YouTube. You can follow people around. But I'm sort of old school that way. I'm analog. I like to get on a plane. So my wife and I got on a plane. 2 days before we were there was 500,000 people in the streets. The airport was shut down, but we took a chance. So we showed up, we got in, and it was just amazing. I mean, I love Barcelona. I love Spain. Madrid was also amazing. It's a wonderful culture, an amazing history, but there's nothing like actually being there. And to see, you know, 200,000 to 300,000 people basically streaming by your car window as they're heading off to a new protest. you just can't reproduce that feeling watching it on the internet.
That's true. Yeah. Wow. So, excuse me. So, Camilla, do you have any questions?
How long did it take you to write the book? How long?
That's a great question. It usually, it depends on the project, but usually it's about 4 to 5 months of intense writing. That doesn't include the research time, doesn't include the time that I'm building an outline. But for me, once I build the outline, which is the most important part and the most difficult part, that's the keystones for me. That's the map that I use for my journey. Once that's in place, and that's where I solve most of my story problems. After that, I hit a very hard word count every single day. So 7 days a week I write, and I don't stop until I'm finished.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Go ahead. Okay, I have some more questions. I know that most writers have to do revisions. Do you do a lot of revisions on your books? Or do you just...
I don't, and for this reason, not because I'm particularly bright, but people like Stephen King, who are the unbelievably prolific Stephen King and many other writers, they like taking a character in a situation and they just want to go. And that takes an enormous amount of skill. I don't know how much time those folks spend on revision. For me, I do so much work up front. I try to solve all the story problems up front. And honestly, most importantly, I do two things. The single most important one is I think stories are really characters making choices. I don't use characters like puppets. They're not just chess pieces on the board to move around for my awesome plot. I build real characters that I really care about. And I know what they want, but more importantly, I know why they want it. And so once I sort of set those characters in motion and they start making their choices, the plot begins to suggest itself. So I do lots and lots of that hard work up front. So I'm not scratching my head saying, gee, I wonder what he or she wants next. Because I've made a lot of those choices. And the second thing I do is I build a calendar before I start, which is a lesson I learned the hard way. Speaking of science fiction, some of my characters were actually engaged in, teleportation, and apparently they were in a couple of multiverses at the same time because somehow I hadn't taken into account, timelines and stuff. So I learned after my first book, always do a calendar. So my calendar and my outline give me enough structure in place that for the most part, I'm just focusing on the writing. And yeah, absolutely do some kinds of revisions, but not like major plot point revisions. More like typos or whatever. And another lesson I learned, and one of the many gifts that my wife brings me, besides her enthusiasm, her curiosity, and her big brain, is after I write the first draft, she actually reads the entire manuscript out to me out loud. And the reason why we do that now is because after I wrote my first book, Drone, I got a copy of the audiobook and we were driving out to Wyoming. I thought, oh, I'll listen to it. And what I discovered was some things that read really well on the page in your head sounds like a scalded cat, caterwauling. And that's not the reader's fault. That's just, the sentence structure and the syntax. It's like, it just doesn't sound good on the ear. So now, because so many books are sold as audiobooks, and by the way, I'll get, 500, 600, 700 reviews, maybe like on Amazon for my book. But Scott Brick, who's the reader for the Jack Ryan, he gets 2,000 and 3,000 reviews. I mean, that tells you how much passion and interest there is in audiobooks. And so by going through and reading these things out loud, I can also have a manuscript that just sounds better on the ear and therefore will read better for an amazing talent like Scott Brick. And my experience is if it sounds good to the ear, it also reads well on the page, but the opposite isn't always true. So that's definitely another process I go through.
Wow. Yeah. So a lot of your books are on audiobook.
Yeah, all of the Jack Ryan books are on audiobook, and 2 of the Drone books are.
Two of them are.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. So you write basically character-based books rather than plot-based books, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I know there's many theories of writing, and there's many ways to the top of the mountain. And if people are just straight up plot-driven, God bless them, and that's awesome. But for me, I care about characters. I think it's, to me, characters are the way we experience the novel. I think most of us are reading because we're looking for two things. One is an emotional connection to the story, and we get that through the characters and what they're experiencing. So if I don't know my character, if I don't empathize with my character, that doesn't mean necessarily like them, but I even want my villains to be empathized with, meaning you understand why they're doing what they're doing. It's not sort of random acts of insanity, but they're properly motivated. Because as we all know, the villain thinks they're the hero of the story, right? In fact, every character thinks they're the hero of the story because their POV is themselves. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for every character that comes onto the page, even the minor ones that maybe show up in just one chapter or one subchapter. Because if they're there, then they're real. They have real motivation. They want things, and I know why they want them. So yeah, to me, it's characters making choices that are what drive your plot, and so definitely a character based.
Do you find, I know I write, I like to try and write, and I've kind of written a young adult book, and I like to write children's books, and my characters actually talk to me, and then they kind of let me know where the plot's going. Does that happen with you?
Absolutely. I know when I'm in the groove when I'm typing and suddenly my characters start telling jokes that make me laugh.
Yep.
I'm sure there's medication for that, but at this point,
Yep.
I'm thinking it's actually characters that they're that now fully realized for me that they are speaking their own lines of dialogue. I'm not trying to force words into their mouth to make something happen. So to me, that's when I know I'm on the right path. And when I find the dialogue starting to come out, it's kind of wooden, or the scene just is lacking some sort of vitality, I know it's because I've come at this as an intellectual exercise rather than as an experiential one. I really do approach novel writing the way I approach screenwriting. I try to see the scene first. I close my eyes, literally. I see the sights, I smell the smells, I hear the folks talking, and then I try to sort of reproduce that on the page.
Mm-hmm. Camilla, have any other question here? Okay, I guess. Okay, Camilla?
Hi. I listen to um, right now, I see your books, and I going to read now. I see the books has very action. Yes, I like to draw Mike Maden. Yes, Tom Clancy, Point Contact of Contact.
Camilla, I'm so glad you're with us. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry, my speaker, I didn't catch all of that. But I'm so awesome that you're here. It's hard to do this discussion, so thank you for doing this.
Okay, you're welcome. Which the book is your favorite? What favorite is your book?
Great question. Ask me which is my favorite child. My favorite niño. I will honestly say it is this one because it's the one I've most recently written. I really poured my heart into this one, as I do all of them, but I push myself every book. I try to write a better book every time. I try to take more chances every time. I try to go deeper with emotion as well as with action every time. And I feel like I accomplished that for myself, at least. So this book was so much fun to research. I love history. All of my books have politics and history.
Yep.
In Barcelona and in Catalonia in particular, there was an election in October 1st, 2017. They voted to become independent from Spain, and the Spanish government said no and sent in the police, and there were massive protests, 1 million people in the streets. And as an American, right, 1776 and the Declaration of Independence, my heart was with the Catalonian people. But the Spanish government wasn't, but neither was the European Union, neither was the UN, neither was the United States. And so for me to really explore this question of what does it mean to be a citizen of a nation or a citizen in the world in the 21st century was just a question I couldn't walk away from in this book. And of course, that led me to the politics and the history of Catalonia, but then also to the politics and history of the Spanish Civil War, which still echoes in Spain and really in Europe and around the world in ways that I hope I show in this novel.
Okay, okay.
So fiery.
Yeah. What is the book that you like the most to write?
The book, I am a thriller writer. I write these techno thrillers. It's what I enjoy to read. It's what I'm most practiced in. If I were to change careers, I would look at science fiction. I think science fiction is an amazing genre. But as we were discussing earlier, it's harder and harder to write science fiction because reality now is so strange and the technology is so pervasive. It's everywhere. And it's changing not just military systems and the way we're conducting combat, it's changing the way we conduct finance, the way we're conducting politics. It's changing our economy. It's changing our personal lives. It's changing the way we do interviews for books and book tours. So I love science fiction.
Yes, I too. I love science fiction. I have read muchos libros, but only the books as fiction are my favorites.
Well, then first of all, you must be muy inteligente. That's excellent that you're reading science fiction. May I ask you one question?
I don't.
Tengo una pregunta para ti.
Okay.
Yeah. When are you going to write a book?
Excuse me, where are you going?
When will you write your book?
¿Cuándo yo escribí un libro? When.
Not estudio, escribo. Yeah. I want you to write. You need to be a writer. Writers read books and then they write them.
One time I write a book in Wattpad.
Oh, good.
Do you know Wattpad?
I didn't hear that.
Wattpad. Do you know Wattpad?
No. I'm sorry.
Wattpad is a app.
Okay.
Where the people can write stories, books. Yeah, write the books. I write here in Wattpad.
That's excellent. Well done. Good for you. Now go write another one.
Okay, thank you. I write I don't know if you know the boy de la ventana de lado, the boy of next window, algo así. I don't say.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know that one. Is it one of your favorites?
What?
Is that book one of your favorites?
Yes, I write. I wrote it.
Okay, probably like fan fiction maybe, huh?
Yes. You know the House of Sarah?
No, I don't.
It's
I'm
very
old school. I'm like Asimov and Heinlein and those guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm an old geezer.
How old are you? How old are you?
I am, well, I sometimes feel like I'm 95 years old, but I'm 60.
Okay, and you, Annie?
Pardon me?
Um, I am 20 years old.
You're
Oh,
so
wow.
young. You're so young. And you're already reading and writing. Good for you.
And you, Annie? Annie, how old are you, Annie?
Selina is my name. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm 65.
Okay, okay. My friends se burlan of.
Oh, she's muted herself.
Okay.
I actually I have to say that I knew Isaac Asimov and Ben Bova. Well, I know Ben Bova. He's a friend of mine, and I knew all of the old science fiction writers, Gordon Dixon, all of the old writers, because I was in science fiction fandom when it was in its infancy, practically.
That's
So, 'cause-
awesome.
My
so
friends
I
make
was very lucky.
fun. Sorry. My friends make fun of me because I like to read.
Well, ignore your friends.
Oh,
Keep writing. We need writers. We need
yes.
more writers. There's never enough good books. There's a lot of bad ones, but not enough good ones. So please, Camilla, write.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Um, and you are you cause
Did we mute again? I can't hear. I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
it cost you a lot to write your first book?
Uh, every book, it cost me a lot. It's literally you're spending your life, right? All we have is our life. Time is the one thing we can't get back. And so when I commit to a book, I'm literally spending my life to write that book. And that's why I try to do my very best job. And I only pick a subject that I'm passionate about. I pick a history I'm passionate about. I work with characters that I really care about. There's a lot at stake when you write a book. It's a huge risk. It's when you open up that first blank page, it's the evidence of things hoped for and the substance of things not yet seen. It's the faith and hope that you'll be able to not just start it but also finish it, and that what you finished, it's something worth reading.
Okay,
And
and they're
that's why
gonna
people are afraid to do it.
they're gonna cut us off in a couple of seconds. So I wanted to thank you so much, Mike, and thanks Camilla for coming. And I really appreciate your coming. And good luck with your next series. I think it's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate so much the invitation and to hang out with you. Linus Firing Point is just a fun book. It's a great Father's Day present. And
Yes.
as my wife reminded me, if you blew Mother's Day, it's a great belated Mother's Day present too. So you got that going for it.
Sounds great. Sounds wonderful.
Well,
And good luck with everything.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye. It was great meeting you.
And you too. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Camilla.
Bye, Camilla.
It's
Keep writing.
very fun.
Bye.
Bye. Vamos a salir.